Hi everybody, my name is Trine Weiss-Mikkels and this is just my second Facebook Live ever, so I'm still learning how to do this. I posted my first Facebook Live last week on yoga therapy for menstrual health, and I've had an overwhelming response to it. Well over 1,000 people have been watching it. I've gotten so many messages back and emails and questions, and I'm quite overwhelmed, and in one way I guess it's a success, but in the other way I can't help but thinking that this is really needed, and it's in some ways sad that there's so many of us who are out here looking for ways to support our menstrual health and support our monthly pains and fatigues and looking for hope and tools that can support us. So I hear everybody. I know you're out there. I'm one of you, and I'm gonna keep continuing making these videos and share everything that I know. And please feel free to ask any questions or offer me areas that you want me to talk about or give you tools for. Then that would be awesome, and it can be more of a call and response. So today I thought I would talk a little more about stress. We talked about stress last week, and I'm going to delve a little deeper with stress today because stress is highly connected to menstrual imbalances and our fertility. And when we are being diagnosed with a condition like endometriosis, for instance, which is what I find to be one of the biggest reasons why most women struggle with menstrual cramps and fatigue and everything that goes with a condition like endometriosis. And it's also one of the biggest reasons for infertility. What we know is that anxiety and stress is a huge part of that illness, that condition, endometriosis. And no kidding, like, why wouldn't you be stressed if you are constantly feeling pain? If you're sometimes too tired to get out of bed, when you are faced with wondering if all the dreams you had in your life is ever going to come true, when you have to constantly, say no to appointments and disappoint friends and family, when you have to go to lots of visits with the doctor which aren't giving you much hope, telling you that it's chronic, sometimes not even sure that they take us serious, and going through surgeries and tests, and it's stressful. And on top of that, there's that underlying sense of wondering if people take us serious. Like, it's hard to share. It's hard to make people who are not in this situation fully understand that it's not just a bad period, that there's so much more to it. And that sense of loneliness that can come with that is very, very stressful too, and will cause anxiety often. And when it all gets too much, depression is something that we all have experienced too, I'm sure. And all of this causes stress. So in one way, yeah, the condition in itself, having struggling with our menstruation and with fertility in itself, causes a lot of stress. But on top of that, what I find is that it's a little bit like the chicken and the egg. What came first? In my experience working with a lot of women, and in my own personal experience, is that the stress might have already been there and be part of the reason why the endometriosis and the imbalance in our hormone system and the inflammation was kickstarted in the first place. When I ask women to tell me their stories, what happens is that they very often tell me that their struggles with their menstruation, the pain and the emotional imbalance, the sadness, the anger, the irritation that we feel those days before, often started in a time of their lives where they experienced either a trauma, or they were in a situation where there was loss or high stress, or they ended up feeling very alone for different reasons and unsupported, that something was going on in the year up to that their menstruation changed. So there was like an underlying stressor that sort of kickstarted it. And also when I started asking them about their childhood and their mothers, what was going on in their mothers' lives when they were expecting them, when they were pregnant, and through their birth in those first years, they were also experiencing a lot of stress. We, in my generation, and being in the 30s, 40s, 50s, we come from mothers who were pioneers in leaving the kitchen and going into the workforce and leaving their husbands and becoming single mothers. And there was a lot of stress. So a lot of us grew up in this foundation of this energy of stress. So it's in our systems, and it's often what we fall back on in our own lives. The women that I work with, and a lot of the women I see with imbalance in our menstrual health and with endometriosis for sure, and with fertility issues, we are women that are high achievers. Like, we are fire women. We have that go, go, go. We often feel that, purpose in life is in that action, is in that moving. And we like a sense of control. I find we find the safety in the control and in the doing and in the working hard and knowing that that'll give us a payoff. And we sort of bring that kind of energy to our healing and to our way of planning and working towards becoming mothers. So the healing approach gets to be this way of fighting for it and working hard, and it feeds back into that stress cycle and that stress response, that sense that we're in survival mode. And it's that constant stress that is at the core in what I see and the patterns that I see with a lot of the women that I work with. And I have stuff written down because I want to make sure I get everything. So there is a lot of reasons for the stress that we feel. There's the foundation of how, what kind of families we grew up with, what our mothers were experiencing when they were carrying us in their womb, when they gave birth, and how they were trying to be mothers and also working outside their home and running the home and not having a lot of role models in how to do this. And still, being the second or maybe third generation, we still don't have a lot of role models. So there's that foundational stress. But then there's also the stress that we experience in our day-to-day lives, a lot of outside stress coming into our body through how we eat, through toxins in the environment. And there's the, and not to forget, stressful work environments and stressful relationships. Sometimes we might be in relationships with our family or spouses that are not working well, and it causes that constant sense of, I like to sort of say that it's like there's a constant, like someone nagging you, like pushing you, and it's that constant, aggravation and irritation in our system that causes a sense of being inflamed and being fired up. But there's also the sense of inner stress that we create from how we think and our beliefs and what we as modern women feel that we have to do, how we are always engaged and feeling that we have to give a lot, like we're very involved in our children, of course. If we have children in our community, our families, we're very involved in our jobs. We are high performers, and we have, I find, a sense of wanting to prove ourselves, and reaching out and being in a sense of if we care for the world will care for us. Which means that we're in a hamster wheel. There's no sense of really allowing ourselves to slow down and be present. And we want to be loved and we want to be supported. Have you noticed what's called PMS? That those first days before a period, and right, in the start of our periods, the waves of emotion that comes up, the patterns I see is often this sense of, I want to be supported, I want to be loved, I want to be accepted for who I am. I feel unsafe. I need a sense of connection and safety, and reaching out, trying to find that outside ourselves, and being irritated and ultimately sad when we feel it's not coming back to us. When we are in that sense of constant stress, what happens in our bodies is that we are in what's called a flee and fight response, which is the part of our nervous system that helps us to survive from way back when we were on the savannah. And if there was a lion attacking us, this response is basically meant for us to either get the hell out of there, like run as fast as we can, literally run for our lives, or turn around and fight to survive. So what happens in our bodies is that, all the resources get to move around very quickly, so the blood flow and the energy and gets moved into our legs and our arms so that we can move or fight. Our brains get very narrow-minded so we can focus on the task at hand. And in order to move that energy out into the extremities, it gets taken away from our core. So the major organs and the major systems like our digestive system and our reproductive system. Because if you're about to be eaten by a lion, it's not the right time to get pregnant. And it's not the time to worry about, digestion and reproduction and periods. All that energy, which are huge systems that takes a lot of blood and energy to run, gets moved out and it blocks. Also our immune system gets shut down again, and in that moment it's not needed. So that constant repair system that we have in our immune system, and the ability to bring the inflammation down that happens due to the stress, and which is at the core of a condition like endometriosis, that system is taking, stops as well. So all the systems that we need in order to heal, gets put on hold to survive. And prolonged stress will eventually cause major damage to those main organs and those main systems. So it makes sense if we're stressed all the time, and if we're in that sense of survival and striving and going, the body's going, well, right now this is not a right time to be a mother, and it becomes very difficult to get pregnant. And the build up to that difficulty is that, our wombs don't get the amount of blood and circulation that they need. Things get out of whack, hormones get out of whack, so we produce, too much or too little. And this is a fine-tuned system that is really based on the fact that if we want to bring life into this world, it needs to be safe. We have to be safe as mothers. So the body's gauging that all the time, and we, it needs to be a safe environment for the child. And we are now in a modern world where we're like, oh yeah, well, I can be stressed and I'll still be fine, and my child will still be fine. Yeah, but the body don't know the difference between us being attacked by a lion, or us being in a really stressful situation at work, or us being in a stressful relationship, or struggling with our families, or just us being in a part of our lives where we feel we can't be ourselves, or we can't speak our truth, we're not living authentically, or we need to keep going, that we are on the bottom of the to-do list, our self-care and connecting to ourselves. So what do we do, to try and balance this out? Like what can we do ourselves so that we're not just relying on doctors and treatments and our community around us? Ultimately, if we can find a way to find that sense of security within ourselves and that sense of ease, that we are okay, that our system can then calm down, and we can, through that, support our natural healing, that's ultimately what we're looking for. And that's a process that takes practice and learning. But I have a few yoga poses, restorative yoga poses, and you might have heard about restorative yoga. It sort of says in the word itself what it does. It helps restore. our body. It helps restore our systems so that our body's natural way of healing can kick in. And in restorative yoga, what we do is that we go into poses where we're fully supported, literally by props. So I'm going to move back a little bit, and I'm going to just bring this down so you can see Freddie is here. And let's see if this can work. And I'm on the mat. I think my phone is actually on the wrong way around. We'll see what happens if I turn it, if you guys will follow along. Are you going to be upside down now? Oh yeah, you might be. Okay, that's not going to work. Okay, we're going to do a little trick here. We're going to just take the phone out of this container and see if that works. There. Okay, better. Okay, we're still learning here. So, when you do restorative yoga, what happens is that you're propped up. So you're supported by blankets and pillows, so that you're fully supported and that there's a space for you to relax and to release. And also another important part of restorative yoga is that we are holding the poses for ideally up to 20 minutes, because that's how long it takes the nervous system to completely cool. And we need to bring that flee and flight, that stress response, we need to bring that down, all the way down, because it's not until that's completely relaxed that our support, the restorative, the repair system in our bodies starts kicking in. So that takes a long time. So in a regular restorative yoga class, you might just be in like 3 or 4 poses for a long time. It also gives us an ability to reconnect to ourselves, to actually check in and see, how am I really doing? How am I actually feeling? Because when we're in pain, whether it's physical or emotional, or if we go through a lot of surgeries or prodding and poking and testing in our bodies, especially in those very vulnerable parts of our womb, you know, it hurts. And we try and move away from that pain. It's natural. And so being in a restorative pose, being supported, you know, feeling safe, being warm, not having anything that hurts, allowing ourselves to just breathe and be present with ourselves, allows that thing to completely calm down. And then what often happens is that thoughts and feelings starts bubbling up, and we can take stock, and we can listen to our bodies. And through that listening, that reconnecting, that starting a relationship with our bodies, makes it so much easier to start caring for ourselves, to start understanding that we actually love ourselves, that we have value, that we don't need to be at the bottom of the list, below the family and below work and below proving ourselves, and that our body is not our enemies. It's really there to help bring us back to balance. It might hurt like the dickens, and we might feel that it's stopping us from doing all the things that we want to do, but ultimately the body is going, listen, you're burning yourself, you're burning up, everything is inflamed, there's constant chronic pain because your muscles are so tense, you know, your organs are not getting everything that it needs in order to be thriving. You need to calm down. And once we calm down and we start seeing that there's what I call, there's a lot of action in the inaction. Like there is purpose in the not doing, because it's in that not doing and in that inaction that everything gets mobilized. And we get connected to ourselves, and our body starts kicking into full gear rather than being in survival mode. So I'm going to show just 2 poses, less is more. So I have a bolster, but you don't need a bolster. You don't need all of the gear that comes with with doing you know, with being a yoga teacher. But you know, this bolster was $65 and it's worth every penny. I love it. It's my favorite friend. But if you have a bunch of towels, or if you have just regular blankets, stack them. That can work too. I also have blocks. There's 2 blocks here. But again, big, thick books will do the same trick. I have a bunch of pillows. which is going to help us as well. Because when we're fully relaxed, we feel everything. So it's important when we're relaxed that we are supported, because otherwise things are going to start irritating. And if there's any pains or, you know, things aren't completely perfect, we're going to add to that agitation and that inflammation. We're trying to do the opposite. So we're trying to calm that. This is Freddie, guys. He loves to be on the floor with me. So Freddie, you got to just move a little bit over here. Sorry, big guy. So I'm going to show these poses, and then ideally when you're home, you're going to pause the video and you're going to stay in them for as long as you can, but ideally 10, 15, 20 minutes. Stay in it long enough so you get that sense that you're completely relaxed, nothing is irritating you, your brain is not running into overgear about what you should and should not be doing. And you get to that sweet spot where you're just present and you finally let go. So allow yourself to see if you can stay in it long enough to do that. Now, if you're struggling with a lot of stress and anxiety, I suggest that you start with this first pose, because it's secure and you're supported on the front of your body. And we're in a child's pose-like pose. So there's that sense of coming back to ourselves. Sorry, Freddie. So you're going to be sitting in front of your bolster, and you're going to put your books or your blocks in front here. Freddie, move. There you go. So you see, you're creating like a little bridge here. And I'm doing this because sometimes if you have a lot of knee issues or your low back, coming all the way down without these might be too much. But you can totally just do it being right on the floor like here, stacking up your blankets. So work with whatever feels right. So this is a way to make sure that if you're in a lot of chronic pain, you know, again, we want to protect. Then what I do, and this also really works tremendously well if you're having a lot of cramps, what you do is that you bring a blanket and you roll it at the end, and you roll it so you have a little sausage right underneath your uterus, right at your abdominal area. And restorative yoga is a lot about propping things up and taking the time to get completely, perfectly comfortable. So you might want to put a pillow at the end. You can put a pillow underneath your bum so that there's less pressure. And then what you do is that you lie yourself down. It's cold here in Montreal. You very gently lie yourself all the way down, making sure, and you can change this as you go back and forth, like finding out what's the exact right amount of pressure on your womb to ease that tension. Because that muscle tension that I talked about before, that we often feel in our shoulders and backs, that tension goes all the way into our inner organs. And you'll probably find as you start doing this kind of restorative yoga that you get really connected to that inner sense of having your uterus literally being tightened up, like, and the organs are just stressed. So this helps just alleviate some of that stress. So moving forward, coming all the way down, placing your head on the pillow, and just allow your hands to rest on the floor. Closing your eyes. Take a few deep, deep, deep breaths. So you're breathing all the way into your low back, all the way into your womb. Like bringing that energy, that stressful energy where you're breathing at the top of your lungs. Allow the breath to have a full breath moving all the way down. Breathing into your low back, releasing any tension that's held in the low back, in the legs, the knees. The tension that happens right around our core in our wombs, it affects everything. It affects our low back, it affects our glutes, it affects our thighs. It moves all the way down. So all you have to do is relax and release and feel how the support is rising up to meet you. Feel the pressure on your chest. That gentle sense of pressure helps calm the nervous system. So coming into it now, if you are doing this with me, come in, close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths just to get that breath going. You might even just release a nice sigh. I like doing that. It sort of shakes things up. And it might feel uncomfortable in the beginning. If we are really stressed and fired up, it can almost feel irritating to be asked to be still. And your brain is going to go 1,000 miles now that you're more calm. You're going to be aware of it. You're going to be aware of your heart rate moving a little too fast. You're going to feel all the discomfort in your body. I want you to stay with that, to be present with that. And stay with it. Have compassion. Being in that sense of peace might not feel very peaceful sometimes. You know, because everything is very present. So you're not trying to change any of that right now. You're just being with it. There's nothing that you have to do apart from being present with yourself and breathe and let go. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and allow yourself to expand as you breathe in. Let that breath help you expand all the tensions, bringing space into your womb, to your low back, to your chest, to your shoulders, to your upper back, space into your mind. And as you breathe out, relax into that space. Let yourself sink into that space that's created. We want to create space in our bodies and in our lives to care, to be present. Stay with this for as long as it feels comfortable. What's going to happen after is we're going to move in to another pose. But first, I think I have a doggy in the kitchen. I think I have a doggy in the kitchen who's doing no good. You're going to come with me through my house here. Yeah. Oh dear. He got into the chicken. I'm going to just move that away. The joys of being live, huh? Okay. So welcome to my house. See if we can get this to stand again without falling. Hey Line, nice to see you. Hi Jean-Michel, bad doggy. Okay, so this pose where you are going forward, where you're being supported on your front, is really good if you have, you know, high levels of stress and anxiety. Now, a similar pose where we're literally turning ourselves around, so we're being supported by our backs and it's the front that's being opened up, is a pose that for some women, if we are having a lot of anxiety, can feel too open and too exposed. But if you start with the one where you're calming down your nervous system first and then turn around, you'll find it a lot easier. And for others, just starting with this pose is amazing and great, and it totally works, and especially if you're dealing with a lot of depression, opening up your front and having that opening can help. Lifting up the heart can help, you know, alleviate some of that depression. So what we're going to be doing is that you're going to have the same setup, but you're going to come sitting with your tailbone right up against the back here. Now, if you have had a herniated disc or are having a lot of low back problems, I suggest that you take a blanket, because you see there's a bit of a dip here. And that feels totally awesome for some people, and for others it might be a little too much. So you can create like a little bridge between the two, so it's less here. And again, you can work with that so that it fits your perfect body. So again, once we come into a restorative pose where we're relaxed, we feel all those pieces in our bodies, and the idea is not to speed. It's not speed. It's not getting into it fast and getting out of it fast like a regular yoga class. It really is about caring for ourselves. So doing whatever it takes to set it up so that it feels absolutely supportive and safe. That sense of safety and support is what's going to bring our nervous system down and calm everything. Another thing, where do we have it? Here, to have by your side before you get in is either a bean bag, if you have one. This is a little bean bag. You might have bigger ones. If you have the ones that, you know, you can put in the microwave and heat up for sore muscles, those ones are great too, and you can even warm it up a little bit. We're going to use it to place it over our eyes once we get into the pose. If you don't have anything like that, what I really like to do is to use a scarf and literally wrap the scarf around my head and tie it just tight enough to feel that literally my brain is being held. Like that kind of gentle pressure helps, again, to calm the system. It literally feels like you're calming your brain. And my husband often laughs when he comes home and I'm all tangled up with a scarf around my head, and he's wondering what the heck I'm doing. But trust me, it might look funny, but it totally works. So coming right up against. Now the pillows here. So you can either keep your legs crossed, or you can bring your feet together, palms, the palm of the feet together, and you're going to bring a pillow underneath your legs, both legs, so that your legs can completely flat open and relax. And again, this is a very open pose, and you might feel like, you know, that you're feeling yourself too exposed. So I like to have a blanket for two reasons: to sort of cover myself so I don't feel so exposed. It's vulnerable, and again, with menstrual conditions, and if you have endometriosis, you've gone through a lot of treatments and probing and potting, and you know, it just feels nice to be covered and supported in that way and cared for. So having a blanket ready, propping up, and then you're going to very gently lie yourself down. And if you have a long neck and you feel that you end up with your chin sticking up, put a pillow underneath. Again, feel into what feels comfortable. So you can see I'm slowly creating this little bridge here where your knees are out to your side, supported, which releases and relaxes your hips, your womb, your low back, all the areas that are really tight. You allow your legs to be supported, so you're not holding up. You can completely relax your leg muscles. You're covering yourself with a nice blanket. I like to tuck it around my toesies to get extra, you know, coziness, especially in the winter where I am, is important. And again, the weight of a blanket on us naturally calms the nervous system. I have my scarf or my beanbag ready, lie down, putting that beanbag over your eyes, feeling the weight on your forehead, on your eyes. And you're going to place your palms facing up. Take a few deep breaths. If you feel that your palms on the floor is too hard, you might want to put something soft underneath your hands. Really listen to all those details. Check in to see, do I need to tuck my tailbone in order to get my low back to feel more comfortable? Rolling my shoulders back, opening that chest. This is a huge chest opener. If you're working in an office where you're often like this is a real nice opener. But it might also feel like, oh, this is too much. Then put something over under your arms so that you're supported there. A pillow here could work too. Like really listen. And do what your body asks you to do. So the final pose looks like this. And if you're in the pose, I want you to stay in the pose. I'm going to come up so that you can hear me. So stay in the pose and breathe. Allow yourself to breathe into your chest, having that sense of an opening here, breathing into your womb. Allowing that breath to go all the way into your womb, your low back. And have that sense again that as you breathe in, you're expanding the space in your body, even beyond your body, into your life, space around you, to be who you are, to do what you need to do to care for yourself. And then as you breathe out, you relax a little deeper. So keep breathing out, softening, letting go. Breathing out, creating space. Breathing in, creating space. Breathing out and relaxing a little deeper. And if you start feeling that, I don't have time to be here. I should be picking the kids up from school, or I should be doing my work, or, what am I get grandmother for her birthday, on Saturday? I want you to remember what I said earlier, that there's a lot of action in what you're doing right now. Right now, as you're relaxing, your body is getting a chance to cool the nervous system. Your repair systems are kicking in. So that the inflammation that you're feeling and the chronic pain that you're feeling can be cared for. Can't believe it. I gotta get to Freddie again. As you relax, there's more circulation going to your womb. There's more blood flow that's being restored. Your body's going, okay, everything's fine. I now have energy to use my immune system to what it's really meant for. I now have energy and time. So that, your heart rate's going to go down. Balance going to be restored. A lot is happening. Your mind, your brain starts working again. Most of you will agree with me that brain fog, lack of focus, lack of memory is a huge part of struggling with our menstruation. And it's part of the stress response. So as everything calms down, the brain clears up. And you can actually, once you come out of the pose, your brain and your body work so much better that more can be done in a short amount of time rather than running around in that hamster wheel. So allowing yourself to be in this quiet place for a moment. Simply breathing in and breathing out, trusting that everything else is taking care of itself. Isn't that amazing? The body knows how to heal if we support it. We need to help create the foundation so that what we have to offer doesn't get moved into our hands and feet, you know, to run or fight a lion. So you have to trust in that action, in the inaction. You have to allow yourself and that sense of self-care and relaxation to put that on top of your to-do list. And know that if we want to be really healthy, we can actually only ever spend about 70% of our energy at any given moment. There needs to be that extra buffer. And I know for myself, at times, I spend what feels more like 120. Imagine what your life would be like, how you would feel if you were just spending 70% of your energy at any given moment and allowing that extra 30%, which isn't really extra, but allowing that last 30% that you might normally give to others, give that to yourself. Imagine what your life would be and feel like if you could relax enough that your nervous system wasn't always firing up, if you didn't always have to fight chronic pain and hopelessness and worry about whether you can live the kind of life that you want to live. Once we relax like this, and we learn to be in that state all the time, like we can be in a hurry and still be relaxed. We can move fast and still not be stressed. And once we learn to get to that place, then what happens is that we are able to create so much better, create our lives, because we're clear-minded and we're not using energy on pain. We're also much more able to create life, our life and children. So once you get ready to coming out of the pose, I want you to be very aware of that transition. It's a coming out slowly. You might just start by moving your inner awareness from your breath and your body and how your body feels. Moving that awareness outwards, listening outwardly to the sounds around you, feeling the blankets or the bolster supporting you, starting to move your hands and feet. Maybe you're going to give yourself a nice long stretch, so waking up the body. You might want to bring your knees into your chest, give yourself a hug. And then say thank you to your body. It really is not trying to make life harder for us. It is trying all that it can to recreate balance. The body is so much more than just a carrier for our brain. So take a moment to send gratitude to your body, like this wave of gratitude. Feel it moving right from your brain all the way down into your toes. Saying thank you for everything that your body does for you every day. You might even want to tell your body that you are on the same team, that you promise to listen better and follow what the body needs. And if you don't fully trust it, give it a period. Say for 1 month, I'm going to try and listen to my body. I'm going to try and relax more. I'm going to be in that sense of inaction, feeling what actually happens. Test it out. Don't take my word for it. So finding a moment every day to coming in to a restorative pose like these two, or just simply being on your back on the floor with a blanket over you. Breathe. Take that time to be with yourself, to listen. And be in it long enough that you feel that you flee and fight, that stress response, that need to keep going, calms down. And then you might want to ask yourself in that moment of stillness, what do I need to know? What can I do right now to best support myself? Write it down. Follow it. Start becoming an explorer. Start letting your body be your own best friend. You can see the other videos that I've done on my Facebook page, my name and Women's Womb Wisdom, and on my website, trineweismikkelsen.com. There's also blog posts there, and lots of resources for you. And please feel free to email me or ask me questions or things that you would like me to focus on, or things that didn't make any sense. I'm happy for this to be a conversation. Thank you so much. Take really good care of yourself. Always. Namaste.